Welcome back to the Flex Diet Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike T. Nelson. On this podcast, we talk about all things to increase muscle performance, improve body composition, all in a flexible manner without destroying your health. Today we have on the program my buddy Adam Ross, who's an RD. I first met Adam in Costa Rica a few years ago now. And I was able to see him again at the coaching summit sponsored by Aram that was out in Vegas this past year in February. So I was there speaking, got there on the first night and wandered half bleary-eyed into the event, and there was Adam. So it was great to chat with him over the course of the weekend and see him once again. Adam is a registered dietitian. He has his own business. You can look up under AR Nutrition, and we'll put links to all of this. He does a lot of work with Don Saladino. You may be familiar with his work also. You can find Adam on Instagram at nutritioncoach_Adam. Always has a lot of really great stuff, from just general advice to more advanced advice, but it's always super solid, and I wanted to have him on the podcast here to share all of his wonderful knowledge with us. And in this conversation, we talk about everything from keto and CrossFit. I talk a little bit about the race across America that I did many years ago, some nutrition tips, freak athletes, and much more. So like most of the conversations, we just start talking. So at the beginning, we're talking about our experience in Costa Rica and go from there. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want more information from myself, you can sign up to the newsletter. It is completely free, and I've got lots of great information that goes out to you each day. Go to my website, which is miketnelson.com. On there, you'll be able to see different opt-ins. You can get a free, cool gift, everything learning about metabolic flexibility, to protein, to a micronutrient you might be missing in. You can find all of that at miketnelson.com. Hop onto the newsletter and you'll get most of all my new content. Most of the content I put out now goes to the newsletter itself. So enjoy this conversation that you just get dropped into here with Adam Ross. Where'd you travel to?
I had to go home, so I went back to Alberta for 5 days, and home for a couple days, back to New York and Portugal for 10.
Oh,
and
wow.
And then I went out to Rhode Island for another 3-4 days or whatever for work thing. So
Oh, nice. What was in
yeah,
Portugal?
we were just traveling. We went to
Nice.
we went to Madeira, it's, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's
Mm.
island. Yeah, so it's not like in the mainland. It's a Portuguese island. It's actually down by like Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, man, we like to hike and stuff, right? So it's like I don't know, what do you want to say? They market it as kind of like the Hawaii of Europe. So it's
Okay.
ocean and then just mountains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was great, man. Like obviously we're right on the ocean, and then everything else is just mountains and hiking, and there's just lots to do, lots of cool stuff. And so yeah, we went and hung out there for 10 days, and yeah, it was good. Just saw the sights.
Fun. You didn't picked up any monster waves and thrown around razor sharp coral?
I'm telling you, the longer life goes on, the more I realize how crazy that was. I feel like at the time I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, whatever, stuff happens. And like now I'm like, man, that was nuts. But no, it scarred me for life. I'll never put myself in that position again.
Yeah. If people listen to this part of the segment or if it gets chopped, we were in Costa Rica, and when hiking, I had done that hike a couple of times before on the previous years. And what we didn't know was a beautiful hike. It was all lava area, and you could get close. You could see the ocean in the distance, but you couldn't, because it was up above, you couldn't really see waves or anything. You couldn't see the beach directly. And so we're all hiking there. Like my wife was with me. There's a bunch of people all ahead of us. And all of a sudden we look up and we see this like just monster wave comes in and literally picked up people in our group. Adam, unfortunately, was one of them. My wife got picked up and thrown around and just tossed people like rag dolls around. And What we didn't know was that there was a wave set that was way out there that would come in like once every, it's like what, 22 minutes or something, just really odd timing to it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we found out the hard way for sure. No, that was an interesting one, man. Definitely added to the story, to the experience. But
Yeah. I think every time we go to Costa Rica, there's a bunch of shit that's off the list now. Like that hike, I think is gone. Like, and one other time we were walking in the jungle and walked all the way down, and it was great. It was super fun. It was not far, half-mile hike or whatever. And it started to rain because, it's Costa Rica. It rains. But what we didn't bank on was that the trail that was this clay mud material literally turned into a slip and slide. Like we looked like cartoon characters, like trying to go up this grate, and there's no way you could stand on 2 feet. So you ended up having to crab walk or bear crawl with your hands and your feet off the path, like to get all the way out. I think that took us like 40 minutes or something. Of course, it's just pouring rain on top of it. And
yeah, that's it, man. Those places like that, you realize you get a whole new respect for those places, right? You don't mess around sometimes. You got to know. It's actually funny talking about Costa Rica. I went back for a retreat. The guy I work with, Don Saladino, he runs a retreat called DonCon. And
I didn't know that was down there.
Yeah, so we did the first
cool.
one. Yeah, he hosted the first one in Costa Rica, and then last year we went down to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. We're headed back there again this year. But,
very nice.
Yeah, and same thing, just not respecting like where you are. Basically, we're in this cool little retreat center in Costa Rica. When it had been raining a lot of the day, so me and my wife were like, "Oh, we'll just finally stop raining. We'll get out." It was like late afternoon. We maybe had an hour or so till sundown. So we weren't paying attention. We just started walking down this dirt road. And then all of a sudden, like one second it was light, and the next second it was dark. And when I'm talking dark, like jungle dark, man. Black as night, right? And no, like obviously no street lights, no nothing. So we turned back and we're like, oh my God, like we've been walking for, I don't know, at least an hour. We didn't know what we were doing. So we're walking down this little dirt road. We've got our cell phone cameras out. You can see about 5 feet in front of your face, and you just hear all this noise in the bushes. And when we were driving in, the driver was talking about being careful with the boas at night and all this stuff. And man, we were just like freaking out. So we ended up actually walking past our turn off, and we got lost. And luckily, like I had 2% battery on my phone. So I turned it on, I called Dawn, and there was one of the guys from the retreat center. Like we actually walked, we saw a street light. So there was just one random street light after walking for about 90 minutes. And so we told him, we're like, hey, we're at like, I don't know, we're lost. There's a street light. We're standing under it. And the guy was like, I know exactly where it is. And then he came and picked us up. But man, we would have been like, honestly, we probably, I don't know what we would have done. Maybe stood out there all night, waited for the sun to come up. But nuts. But anyway, so Costa Rica, yeah, you got to be careful in those type of places, man. You got to respect them.
Yeah, I feel like the longer I'm alive, even just recently we were down in South Padre, and we went up kiteboarding in the morning. It was like super crazy wind, and a storm had come through, but it was pretty good. And we knew there was another storm coming, so we were watching the radar and stuff, and the wind died down between storms, and we look up and we're like, that's starting to look pretty black. And no one was in like a big hurry at that point. And I'm like, I'm getting out of here. This doesn't look good. I'm not hanging out here any longer. And they're all like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So we get out of there. Not even like a 5-minute drive later, I called my wife. I'm like, hey, I'll stop and get you some coffee. Stop at the coffee shop, order the coffee. As I'm looking out the door, I'm like, oh, it doesn't look too bad. I'm like, I got a 2-minute drive to get back to our place. I go to open the door and I looked, and you could see the storm just coming in. And it went from no wind to 60, 70 miles per hour, just pouring right, like this wall of water just came through. And I looked outside, and you couldn't even see like your hand in front of your face anymore for the first 5 minutes. And then the main street started flooding. So I was there for an hour and a half, just chilling, watching the storm go by. And yeah, it's interesting.
It's it. Nature, man. It's powerful. It's impressive.
You feel like related to nutrition stuff that now nutrition wise, like calories are almost like too easy to get, right? Because if you think like not that long ago, like you had to hunt an animal, you had to potentially pound the ground to find some tubers or know what you're doing to go gather something or grow something. Where now I don't even literally have to walk. I can hit buttons on my magical little phone and somebody shows up at my door with like food.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, right? And that's what it is. Things have changed so much where everything is so accessible and so simple now that, yeah, it's definitely, I don't think it's helping our cause by the looks of things. It might be making things easier in one aspect, but I think it's making it a lot harder in the aspect of health.
So what do you have some recommendations? Because I always find it fascinating. It's like a double-edged sword because on one hand, it's probably easier to get more healthy food now than it ever has been with food transportation and refrigeration and everything. But it's also paradoxically easier to get really crappy food faster than it ever was too at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, to be totally honest with you, I usually don't recommend people do yeah, Uber Eats and all those ordering apps and stuff like that. Where one thing I do like about technology for that aspect is grocery delivery services
Yes,
because a
that's
lot of
amazing.
people, oh man, unreal. And a lot of people, how many times you go into the grocery store, you're hungry or something like that, you walk
Yes.
out with a bunch of junk you didn't plan on buying. So a lot of people, if you don't trust yourself in the grocery store, it actually might be a smarter play to actually have those groceries delivered, have it on an auto loop, or a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time, whatever it is. But the cool thing about these now is you can literally have just a standard grocery list that gets ordered every Sunday morning to your door, whatever time you choose that's most convenient for you. So that I like, but the rest of the stuff I just think is you're playing with fire there because a lot of it is it's generally those times when you're given into cravings when you start cruising the apps and you're looking for something tasty, and then all of a sudden you got all this food showing up at your door, and like you said, you didn't have to do anything. And I don't know. So to me, that's a slippery slope. So I'm a little bit of old school with that stuff. Like I've never had any of those apps. I don't use them. I don't recommend that people use them unless maybe they do live like a super busy lifestyle. And then maybe we do program some favorites or something into those where they can actually call up a decent meal and you've done your research, you've looked at the restaurant menus and things like this, and you've determined that there's select few places that have good meals that you can order when you're in a pinch. But beyond that, I do think it gets a little bit of a slippery slope, right? If you have the time, if you can prioritize it, I always recommend go get those things because it's not going to be when it's not as easily accessible, you make decisions based off of ease a lot of times, right? So if it's not easy to go out, just like having these foods in your freezer and in your cupboards and stuff, right? If you don't have the Oreos in the cupboard, you're probably not going to run out at 9 o'clock at night to grab them, right? And if you really do, then maybe they were worth it at that point, right? If you don't have the ice cream in the freezer, you make it a point to go out and get the ice cream on a special occasion or something like that. It doesn't become a nightly occurrence. I think the more we can make it a little bit difficult on ourselves, the more we can actually, obviously, we can maintain like a little bit better intake, right?
Yeah, I tell clients that you can leave the app on your phone, but you can't have it auto store your credit card. Because if you tell them to take the apps off entirely, they're like, "Oh, but what I need, what if I," they give you like some harebrained circumstance of once in a million type thing. So I'm like, okay, you can leave the app on, but you can have it auto store your credit card. So at least you have to go find a credit card and like manually type the number in to try to, like you said, to try to provide some friction or some effort at least for you to think a little bit more about is this something I really want to do? If it is, great. It's once in a while. I don't think you have to worry about it. But it becomes very easy for that to be just a default kind of autopilot habit and not even realize it.
100%. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I agree.
Related to grocery purchases, any tips there for things that people should look for? Like one of the tips I've done, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is order a bunch of protein and then take Sunday and usually have people train 6 days a week. Sunday, you have an hour that you're going to dedicate to training, but instead dedicate that hour to food prep, have the groceries delivered to you. And then for me, like I find the rate limiter is just cooking the actual protein itself. I don't know what your thoughts are on that or what other tips you have for food making,
Yeah,
I guess, prep.
totally. Yeah, I try to work with people to, it's going to, in my opinion, be based off of like their lifestyle, right? Because a lot of people don't love the idea of meal prep on a Sunday, and they also don't eat the meal prep, right?
Yes.
So
That's
they
the other
make
issue.
right. So they make everything on Sunday thinking, oh, this is gonna take me through the week. And then by Tuesday, they're sick of what they made, or it's old and gross and you don't want it anymore. And then maybe you're turning back to those apps and stuff like we just talked about. So I see both, obviously. Like I have people that do really well with, yeah, like they love to meal prep. They're planners like that. They love to do the Sunday meal prep. So yeah, we get making sure, obviously, like my big thing is I'm just a big fan of having a plan. I don't really care what the plan is. I'm just a fan of you need to at least have an idea, a loose plan of what's going to happen for you on the day to day each week. And just to make sure that we can carry that out. Some people are planners and they love to get in there on a Sunday, do some meal prep. They package everything up. They're good to go for the week. And then I have other people who struggle with that, right? Where they find that they're wasting a lot of food and they're wasting a lot of money, or they're just not eating the meals that they're prepping, or they're getting super sick of them and burnt out by the end of the week. So in that case, I usually recommend, just if you got the time for it, doing whether it's 2 to 3 batch cooks a week. Most people have time to cook dinner maybe 3 nights a week, right? So if you're cooking the dinner, just make sure you're making extra so that you have leftovers for the following day. And then at least that way things don't get so monotonous. People don't get burnt out as much, because maybe you do a prep on Sunday, you do a prep on Tuesday, and you do a prep on Thursday or something. And then you have the ability to mix things up. And then you're also eating a little bit fresher foods. And again, you can put a lot more variety in there as well. So it's usually one of those two things in terms of like meal prep. And then I am a big believer in, you got to have, that's always plan A. Like that's the one that obviously ideally we want everybody doing, right? Like we want you with your meals prepped. We want things planned. We want you to be able to grab it and go, but not everybody's going to do that all the time, or things are going to get in the way or whatever. So then I'm also just big on having a plan B, which is just a list of good restaurants, even if it's simple things like Chipotle, or like out here we have like Sweet Greens and some salad, different like salad type places, or any type of burrito bowl places and things like that. Greek restaurants, even like delis or diners, where you've done the research, you've got a couple of meals that you can order from each of these places, and they're going to be in alignment with like your nutrition needs and your goals. And as long as we have the plan A and the plan B, most people are pretty good at carrying out one of those.
Yeah, I like that, having a backup plan too, because what's the thing? The plan never survives battle. And even after a while, I've actually even told clients this with both training and nutrition of, okay, they worked with me for several months, maybe a year. Like you kind of have an idea of what to expect. And then I actually want them to waver a little bit and make better choices, and not be like, I'm sure you get the same, where you get some clients that are like all or nothing. So if I get someone who wants an exact meal plan and wants exact training and wants everything to be exact, and then they start hitting it like at 100%. In theory, you're like, that's amazing. But that scares me, because I found that personality type tends to go off the cliff. And when they go off the cliff, the car goes in the ditch pretty fast.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, I've actually had that conversation with a client who's just graduating, working with me today. She is like a perfectionist. She's one of those people spot on with macros and calories every day, doing meal prep, all these different
Is she
things.
weighing out her broccoli?
Oh yeah, everything. Yeah. She was good about staying on top of that stuff. And she admitted it. She's, yeah, I'm a perfectionist. And when I'm in it, I'm in it. But that was literally the conversation we had on like her way out the door today, was exactly that. It's okay. I understand that you know how to do the meal prep. Like you're great at the prepping, you're great at weighing and measuring, you're great at following macros, but what if you can't? And then she said, I might spin out a little bit. And I was like, so, well, that's
What
where
does that look like?
that's where that plan B has to be an option for you when all conditions aren't perfect. Like you said, once you get into battle and the plan gets messed up a little bit, like what's your reaction in that position? And that's what I want everybody to be, since we're using the term battle, to be armed with, is the ability to make decisions that, even though they may not be perfect, they're still following along the guidelines of obviously what we're trying to achieve with their nutrition approach. So that to me is huge. I feel like it can be done from anything from meal prepping to a 7-Eleven. Honestly, it's just, they got to know the approach, right? They got to understand the framework. They got to understand the process that we're trying to take them through. And then it becomes a lot easier to make decisions like based along those guidelines.
What are your thoughts about intermittent fasting as a potential option?
Yeah, 6 months or a year ago, I would have said I love it. Now, not so much. Yeah, and this may be a little bit of bias from personal experience, and also from experience coaching people as well. But I do like it, obviously, as a calorie control tool, right?
Mhm.
And I do think that it's great to understand hunger and fullness cues, right? You'll actually understand when you, if for anyone who's done fasting, like you'll understand like what real hunger feels as opposed to just habitual eating every
Mhm.
4 hours kind of thing, right? So I do like it to learn those specific things and to understand that, okay, yeah, you're not going to die if you go 3 hours without a meal or something like that. Like maybe your body's not going to shut down and you're going to have low blood sugar, like a lot of people have been led to believe. They don't have that consistent intake all the time, that it's just going to end up in a disaster for them. So I do like it for those reasons, but in terms of a performance and results based approach, I don't love it. And the big one is muscle protein synthesis, obviously like protein intake and muscle protein synthesis. And it's just, to me, it's especially a lot of the people I'm working with, and I know a lot of the people you're working with are athletes, they're in the athletic population, or at least they're physically active people that are trying to get in better shape, trying to lose body fat, trying to increase muscle mass. So I don't really love the idea of delaying that muscle protein synthesis by an extra 4 to 6 hours a day. I do like to have people at least consume, like, even if it's just something as simple as 50 grams of whey protein or something in the morning, just to get a straight up protein shot. And also too, I think just in terms of hunger, a lot of people use intermittent fasting as a reason to binge eat at night, or it's turned into binge eating at night, and then you feel disgusting, and then you don't want to eat until 1 o'clock the next day because you feel gross about what you did the next night, and then you pick that back up the next day. You have noon hits or one hits, you have your nice little salad with your chicken, everything's in control until dinner time. When you settle in, you sit down on the couch, you take a deep breath, you relax, and then all bets are off. And I think it can turn into that as well for people. There has been some information put out recently too about eating earlier in the day and some appetite attenuation and stuff like that, or some appetite control aspects of that too, right? For those reasons, and I've just seen people's bodies progress a little bit better when they at least incorporate some protein at breakfast time. It also helps with their hunger a lot later in the night, and they don't find like they're as ravenous snacking all night and stuff.
I see something similar with the 16 and 8, right? So you're having a longer fasting period and like an 8-hour eating window. I've had a couple of clients who had success with it, but when somebody comes in and they're like, I'm doing a 16-8, and they're obviously not making progress on it. Exactly what you said is usually my first question. I'm like, so what'd you have for dinner last night? Oh, this, and then I had that, and then it was this, and how'd you feel afterwards? I felt pretty crappy, but I didn't eat again for 16 hours. I'm like,
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but you're working with an athlete population. What do you notice, like an injury increase in athletes that are trying to fast?
I haven't, but any type of fasting I have people do, I have them take 1 day and just do a longer fast for only 1 day, work up to 19 to 24 hours. Similar to you, like I don't want it to be like this crutch that's going to solve everything. I also like having more protein, muscle protein synthesis, all that stuff the other times throughout the rest of the week. I am biased though. I think having periods of time where you're not eating, where you actually get to feel like what it's like to be hungry. With athletes, it's usually on their off day or just like a light cardio day or something like that. Using that approach, I haven't seen an increase in injuries, but I have worked with a few people in the past who did like a 16-8 approach and did the opposite. Like they were like drastically under eating.
Right.
Like when they would start to eat, it's, oh, I'll have some cheese and crackers and some popcorn. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then you look at their actual performance. Unfortunately, most of the time it was female athletes, and the performance is not very good. Like they're not able to recover. The coach
Yeah.
usually yells at me because their training volume is low. They've had a history of injuries, and
Right.
yeah, so I have seen it in those cases.
Yeah, and it could very well be that. Just obviously, and that's the thing where I'm getting at there too, is like the recovery aspect of getting
Hmm.
something in earlier in the day. And again, that's where to me, like the protein is the big issue there, or the primary is you do want to start that rebuild recovery process, or you don't want to delay it all that much, in my opinion. Yeah, also too, a dietary quality is going to make a massive impact on that as well. So if you're doing a 16-8, but you're doing it with high quality foods and you're actually able to get somewhere close to your necessary calorie intake for your output throughout the day, then it might be a whole different story in that case. But yeah, I think that's a lot of people use it as just a way to really, I guess, like undereat, right? Like people are just using it as a tool to really undereat and underfuel. And in a lot of cases, it becomes under recovering and stuff for the athletic population, and performance just suffers. And I don't know, like that's just my opinion on it, is like just injury risk might go up just because recovery's down and stuff.
Yeah. And that's why it's nice to have these conversations, because at face value, you're like, oh my God, they don't agree at all. I probably agree on 95% of it,
Yeah,
because it just
totally.
depends on what context you're talking about. I do find general population, I do like them to do a little bit longer fast. But again, like you said, it depends on the context. If I've got some eel-shaped rake, usually it's a dude who's 17 years old who can't gain weight and is
Yeah.
fasting even once a week for a long period of time. I'm like, bro, you just need to eat more. Just don't worry about the fasting for now. Like, you're metabolically healthy. You're obviously underweight. Like, just for God's sake, have a sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah. As often as possible. And again, I think whatever, like I have a athletic background, like I played professional hockey and stuff like that. And I actually went through my struggles with, that's actually why I became a dietitian and got
Hmm.
so heavy into nutrition, is because so in college is when I really got into nutrition. All right. So whatever, my scholarship to go play college hockey, I showed up there as a freshman and I thought I was going to be great. Like I was coming out of junior hockey where I obviously did well enough to get a scholarship. I was one of the better players on the ice each night. And then I figured I was just going to translate that right over to college hockey, and it didn't happen. So, like after my freshman year, I really was pissed off, and I just made this decision, like, all right, I'm not coming back like this again next year. I'm going to show up more, like I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be push my fitness, push my athleticism, whatever. And that's when I started even considering diet, right? And I made some just stupid little changes, like totally uneducated changes, right? I'm like, oh, I'll eat less fats, like I'll eat less cheese and stuff like that. And I was still crushing carbs. Like I would literally go, I remember there'd be mornings where like I was just eating all day long. But and then it got to the point where over the course of my college career, I started getting more into reading more about nutrition, and I started picking up on paleo diets and all these different things. But these are the wrong things for athleticism, in my opinion. It got to the point where I was under fueling and I was over like exercising, right? Like I was training, I was on the ice multiple hours a day, and literally not exaggerating, in the gym probably 2.5, 3 hours most days. Like I was really pushing it, but I was under fueling that approach because I was trying to do like paleo diets, but I was afraid to increase the fats that it was asking me to, because I thought the fats were bad. Just again, from just lack of understanding is all it was. My intentions were the best of intentions. I really wanted to make myself a better athlete, but I ended up just sabotaging myself, really. I just made myself weaker, slower. I was getting injured. I was stacking up just like random little injuries, just like overuse stuff that I would never have had before. And it just burnt me out, right? So that's my experience with it. So it could just be a little bit of, that's a bias on my end, but I have found like, yeah, for anyone who's like trying to perform at their best, right? It's like that eat more, exercise more approach is probably what you're going to want to take 99% of the time, or definitely eat more approach, I think, in most cases, right? Because the more energy you got to put out, your performance should reflect that.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've been around long enough to remember the keto and CrossFit phase for a little while.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if it was you saw that, but
Oh, yeah.
man, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I had how many athletes doing keto and wanting to be competitive in CrossFit? Not like general population. I go do CrossFit. Like, I want to be competitive in CrossFit. I'm like, what are you doing? You're doing like a high output glycolytic sport, and you're trying to use a high fat.
The two don't add up very well, do they?
No,
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
even the paleo thing, like, I remember, again, it was mostly with CrossFit athletes I was working with at the time, having these hour conversations just to get them to eat more sweet potatoes. They're just like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think it's okay. You had your kale smoothie and this salad and that salad." I'm like, "Bro, you're getting like 70 grams of fiber a day. Like, you cut back on the fiber a little bit, have some more sweet potatoes, have white rice for Christ's sake."
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know if that's paleo." I'm like,
Exactly. No, it's not, but it's not what you should be doing. Yeah. And that was literally the position I was in. Like I was eating like one sweet potato a day. I was eating my protein and just a ton of veggies. And like I said, I didn't want to incorporate the fats because I was coming off of like a diet where, it was like fat was bad, right? So anything I could see that was non-fat, I would eat it. If it was
"Mm."
non-fat frozen yogurt or special K chips or cereal, it didn't matter, right? As long as the fats said zero or they were low, I'd buy it. And honestly, if we're talking performance, it was a way better approach because yeah, my dietary fat intake was low, but my carbs were through the roof. And I just did this massive adjustment where I brought carbs way down, but I didn't replace with any fats. But yeah, that's what it is, right? It's just misinformation. I don't think anybody's intentionally trying to self-sabotage in these
Right.
situations, right? But it's misinformation. And that's what honestly just led me to, like, after I was done playing professional hockey, I went back to school to become a dietitian and went that route because I felt that strongly about it. I'm like, man, like if I had this understanding, the old shoulda, woulda, coulda, if I had the resources to help myself out a little bit better here, who knows if I would have been done as early as I was done, right? Yeah, that's the interesting thing, man, is and with athletes too, it's like we all know better. Hey, we got here, we got ourselves here, we know what we're doing. And then meanwhile, you're looking back at the numbers and you've got that better knowledge of the nutrition and you're looking at them like, man, you're out of your mind. But it's hard to convince a lot of these people, right?
Yeah, even the handful of elite athletics I've worked with, some guys and gals making millions of dollars a year doing their sport, like professional sport. My assumption when I looked at some of their nutrition stuff early on is, I don't know, they're making millions of dollars. Like they must know what's going on. They're playing at this NFL, NHL, et cetera, high level. And you see some of their nutrition, and there are some people who are pretty dialed in, pretty good. But man, I would say more often than not, you're like, what are you doing? Part of me is amazed that it's that poor. And the other part of me is, you did that well for that many years, like eating like this? Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah. No, totally, man. I second that. Even just being around it. Yeah, like guys really, or guys and girls, like they've got no idea. And then I actually was a campus dietitian at St. John's University for a couple of years. So obviously they got a really good like D1 athletics program. But obviously basketball is kind of their big sport, but they've had some really, really good track athletes and baseball players and golfers and stuff go through there as well. But yeah, the thing is, you don't think about it, but these are like 18 to 21-year-old kids and they're just getting influenced just like every other person out there is, right? And yeah, in most cases, they don't pay any attention to it. They've always been good at sports. So they've never had to worry about maybe some of the extra stuff in terms of getting that competitive advantage or whatever it is. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Like even when you look at like that, what was it? DK Metcalf from the NFL last year was talking about eating 2 bags of candy a day in one meal. He said, and if you've seen DK Metcalf, he is like absolute
He's a freak.
specimen.
He's an absolute freak.
I saw a video of him yesterday or the other day. He jumped. I've never seen a human being jump as high as this dude. In one hand, caught a football, and he must have literally been 8 feet off the ground. It was insane. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And this is a dude that literally says, "I eat only one meal a day. I eat 2 bags of candy during the day, and then I eat dinner." And he is a specimen. So that's the thing. A lot of these people have gotten there because they're that skilled, right? They're that talented. And then you look at them, you're like, man, if you would just do a little bit more here, who knows where you could take it, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah. And those athletes, ironically, are, in my experience, like some of the hardest to sell on better nutrition. Like I worked with 2 top college track athletes years ago. Nutrition was just horrible. And I thought, this is going to be easy. Look, they're eating like nutrition's a floating trash bin fire. Like, how hard is this? So let's have actual yogurt for breakfast and special. I don't care. Get some protein, basic stuff. And their answer was, your coach wanted me to do this. We don't want to do it. We're already running this fast. So we don't care. I'm like, what? I just never did any of it. So I was like, okay, I don't know.
Yep, absolutely. I had that experience as well, where they literally were just like, dude, I just flat out don't care. It's like, all right, hey, I guess you can't help everybody, right?
Yeah.
They gotta want to be helped. But it's unfortunate because you look at them and you're like, you realize you're like, you could elevate your performance to this next level, and who knows how it could pay off for you. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to convince them of that, I think. And like I said, I just think it's because they've always been good their whole lives. They've put themselves in that position by not worrying about it. And so it's like, hey, why change it up now, right? Like, why change what's working? I don't know. Maybe I was lucky enough where, like I said, I probably was lucky enough where I wasn't good enough as an athlete. Like I had to look for those other competitive advantages. And that was the way I saw it, is like, everyone's practicing, everybody's on the ice doing their thing, everybody's in the weight room doing their thing. But most people aren't paying attention to what they're putting in their mouth. So it's that opportunity for a competitive advantage that like we're talking here, like probably 90% of athletes aren't, or even just people in general aren't taking advantage of. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, with those people, I would just wait until their performance tanked. And like I used to argue with them, and then eventually I'm just like, okay, you do whatever you're going to do. I'm not going to convince you otherwise. when your performance starts dropping or you find you end up with a lot of injuries or niggly issues that don't go away, just give me a call.
You know where to find me. Yeah. I'll be here waiting to say I told you so.
I remember years ago, I was working with a pretty high level CrossFit athlete, and we took a picture of him in the evening eating 2 donuts. And he was like a very hard, staunch paleo guy. And I just posted it on the internet and said, hey, this is the guy's dinner. Didn't think anything of it. The internet like lost its mind. The amount of weird emails and comments I got from people are like, doesn't he know that's not paleo? What is he doing? You're the dumbest nutrition person I've ever seen. And I'm like, I had to tell him, like, for context, he's a professional CrossFit athlete, was training 2 to 3 times a day. He does not have another job. He was eating 3,500 calories of kale and broccoli and God knows how many sweet potatoes and whatever else. And if he didn't get at least 4,000 calories a day, his performance would tank. So I told him, go eat 2 donuts at night. He loved donuts. And it was great. His performance went up. Is he really micronutrient deficient? Oh, he's going to burn 2 donuts off in half an hour. It's like the least of his worries.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, right? It's, yeah, you can't put the energy in fast enough for these guys to burn it. And I think that's a big one too, where, you know, people do get, because I guess whatever you want to call it, that diet dogma, or people get so attached to things. But that was like, I remember like the outrage when Michael Phelps' diet came out and people said I was eating pizza and fried chicken and stuff, but they don't what people don't understand is it becomes a physical impossibility to eat that amount of calories when you're trying to do it with your traditional clean foods, right?
Yeah.
Your high nutrient dense, low calorie foods. It's just, it's impossible, right? So that's the thing, right? And I think even for myself as an athlete, like I always say, I wish those nights on the bus when we had 3 games in 3 nights and whatever, and I was ordering grilled chicken salads, I wish I had gone for the pizza. Like I wish I had the knowledge to be like, man, no, you need calories tonight. You don't need, like you said, like the micronutrition is taken care of. Like that nutrient density is taken care of for the day after a few thousand calories worth of high quality food. And at that point, it just becomes about energy and pumping energy into the system. Yeah. It's interesting.
Wasn't it the ultra marathon runner Dean Cazares used to have like pizzas delivered to him when he was running, I think? I don't know if that's a true story or not, but I heard that from a couple of people. And the ironic part is, like, he would never eat pizza. Like, his diet was extremely strict other times, but his argument was like, hey, I'm going to go run 100 miles. Like, I just need calories, period. And obviously, digestion wise, he didn't have any problems with it or whatever.
Yeah, literally. I don't know that story, but man, it would make sense, right? You're getting a bunch of carbs and a bunch of fats and protein in that case. It's a taste good. It's an easy way to get it in if you're on like a trail and stopping for a quick rest. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I've worked with a couple ultra endurance type athletes as well, right? And when you start getting into these like 10 to 12 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram and things like this, it's like
people don't realize how high that is.
Oh God, it's insane to try to plan out 500 gram carbohydrate day in 4 to 6 hours kind of thing to keep that performance going. So it's interesting. And again, it's like you can't do it on sweet potatoes. It's not going to happen. Like you got to go as basically sugar heavy as you can go. So it becomes a whole different ballgame. You got to there's a lot to consider there, but.
I think in those cases, like the gut is trainable. Like Jack and Dorpus proposed this idea that if you're at, let's say, 50 grams of carbs per hour, that over time you could get that to 60 or possibly 70. That the amount of basically calories you can take in while moving is a trainable thing.
I wouldn't doubt it. Knowing the way the body adapts to like pretty much any stimulus we put on it, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I like you said, I think that would be one of those things where it would definitely it'd be like a training aspect of your training, right? Like you would have to really start to plan that out and push for that, right? But yeah, I don't see why the body couldn't adapt to that. It adapts to a lot crazier stuff than that we do to it, like in terms of whatever alcohol and drug consumption and all these things. Man, you can make your body adapt to that. I figure you can probably make it adapt to some carbs. But yeah, totally, it would be in terms of you would have to train the gut, right? Because obviously, just digestion is not priority number one when you're in that kind of a situation and a setting. But yeah, I don't doubt that it could be done.
I think for the Nike breaking the 2 hour, trying to break the 2 hour marathon, I want to say they had him at 110 or 120 grams of carbohydrates per hour, like something just ungodly high.
Yeah, I've seen so like when I was working with these endurance athletes, like I was pushing for like 80 to 90.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's high.
Yes. Yeah. And again, you got to use the gels and you got to use the drinks and I would try to use some form of food as because you don't just be like pumping people full of gels and liquids because digestively that's tough. But yeah, no, that's from the research that I did on that as well. Yeah, it was like these endurance athletes are pushing for like 80 to 90 an hour. So if this guy's really trying to push performance to that state, then yeah, I don't doubt it. And I think that's probably where you run into because we're going back a year when I did this research, so I don't remember it perfectly, but I think the 80 to 90 mark was really where they saw the gut just couldn't handle much more after that. So that's probably where he's talking about really having to train and get the body adapted to that. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also obviously different with running versus cycling. Cycling, you can usually get away with more because there's not the impact per se and heat and osmolality and all the other factors and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's it, right? It becomes better than I do. Like like it really does become a science at a certain point, right? Where it's like it becomes a lot more than just whatever calories and macros and carbs. Like you said, there's just so many different things to start to consider, right? In those situations. So that's when it really does become a lot of fun. And a lot of it is going to come down to probably trial and error with these athletes because it's going to depend on how their guts do digesting specific carbohydrates and things like that. But yeah, so it's an interesting thing for sure.
Yeah, and what we said before, like having the backup plan to the backup plan. I've told this story before, but I helped with the Ram race across America. And we got halfway, where were we? Like Nebraska or something. So you start in San Diego, you finish in Atlantic City. I was on a team of 4 people. So you're biking, pedaling all the way across the US. And it's a race. So you're racing against people from literally all over the world come over to do this. And so we had all their kind of pre-planned nutrition. We had the grocery stops, everything planned out. We get to Nebraska and one guy got off his shift and I said, "Hey, I'll make you a shake of this." I won't say the name of what it was. And I showed him the container and he's, "If I even see that container again, I'm going to shove it up your ass and I'm going to throw you off of this car." And I'm like, "So you don't want any of this?" He's, "No. And I'm going to throw up all over you because I can't stand the look of that anymore." And I'm like, "Oh shit." And so I'm like, "Okay, what do you want instead?" He's like, "Fig Newtons." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Fig Newtons?" He's like, "Yes, Fig Newtons." I'm like, "Okay." So I don't know how many pounds of Fig Newtons this guy ate for the next 4 days. And he did great. I'm like, "Okay," but
So
at some point I'm just like, you just got to get calories in however you do it. And it's a temporary thing, right? So people listening are like, your output is so ungodly high. It's for a short period of time. It's already the things you're doing at that extreme are not the best for your health anyway. But probably not a big concern in the big picture at that point. Plus, those people are hyper competitive. Like health isn't number one on their list anyway.
no, anyone who's trying to bike across America as fast as they can, health is definitely not number one on the list. Doing these ultra marathons and these things that these guys run is not. Yeah, these are not things that are what would you call stress type of events, right? Like these
massive distress.
Yeah. Straight up distress and they're asking for it. So yeah, you got to take those desperate measures in those desperate times. But yeah, even like that's not how these guys are living 99% of the time, right? This is just the approach a week or 2 weeks before the event kind of thing. So
Something that general population could learn from those high level athletes. To me, like the biggest takeaway, I don't know if you would agree, is most people, it's not a popular sell, but they probably just need to increase their output and increase their nutrition to match it. Instead of having 1,200 calories in and 1,200 calories out, you'll do better at 2,200 calories in and 2,200 calories out if you're trying to equate maintenance.
yeah, no, I'm glad you said that because actually that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say intensity levels. Yeah, I just think I think one thing, and it's not a knock on anybody or whatever. I just think it's like a lot of people don't understand the intensity level that you're looking up to, like your Instagram fitness people, or you're looking up to these pro athletes, or like, oh, I want a body like that person. I think people underestimate the intensity of the training that these people go through, right? You have to do something hard as hell, put yourself through shit for a long time to get a body that looks that way. And then you got to fuel that, like exactly what you just said. So I think in terms of like general population, that literally would be my recommendation for people. And it is, and it's one thing that I've really been pushing a lot of lately is like the benefits that you're going to get from a train more, eat a little bit more approach is going to be so much greater than an eat less, move less approach that there's just no, like, you can't even compare the two, right? Because obviously getting all the physical and mental benefits of training heavily and training hard and training with intensity, right? And then getting all the physical and mental benefits of being able to eat more food. That to me is 100%, right? Like you don't see a lot of people that achieve like that ideal body composition and that look by under eating and under training, right? It's usually the opposite where like they're going to train like crazy. They're going to eat quite a bit of food. And then at some point, maybe you need to start worrying about, okay, do I need to start managing calorie intake a little bit here, be a little bit more careful with my carbs and my fats and things like that, if you're going to just keep the lean physique or create the lean physique that you want to create. But yeah, I think I'm 100% in agreement with you there. For general population, I think that's, and it's just, I don't know how long you've been in gyms. I've been in gyms for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And what's the intensity level at these gyms you walk around? You look, and it's not like a knock on people. Like everybody can do what they want. It's not, I don't care one way or the other. But if you look at the people who are training the hardest, they're probably generally the ones that are in better shape. If you look at the people who are doing the least, they're usually the ones that are in the worst condition. And the two probably correlate. So that's where I'm of the opinion, the majority of general pop, they don't have that gear, or like they just need to try to find that gear. And I think that would go a long way, right? And then all of a sudden now your nutrition gets totally utilized different within your body, right? Like when you're eating proteins, when you're eating carbs, when you're eating fats, when you're eating even micronutrient dense foods, vitamins, minerals, they're getting processed in a different way because of the stress that you're putting your body under, right? You're forced for a lot more of a rebuild, repair, recover aspect on the body. Obviously blood sugar is going to be better, like all these different things, right? Like just to me, like nutrient utilization just becomes a lot better and a lot easier, right, for the body to handle. So yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons there, but that would be my thing as well.
Yeah, there's one thing I noticed. God, I probably started doing this 10-ish years ago. I really started pushing clients on volume, especially online, because it's hard to equate intensity. Like I usually had people that were just super intense, but too intense that they could never recover and they kept injuring themselves because they were doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
They couldn't modulate the intensity to be intense when they needed to and not when they didn't need to. So I started pushing just more volume overall, with it being more of a eustress model. Like you want to keep quality of work high, but you want to see how much you can actually do so you're expending more calories. And then programming cardio on more off days, neat, go around walk. And it takes quite a while, right? If someone is very sedentary, this is like a multi-month, multi-year process to scale someone up. But what I found was like their results were much, much better than just you can only train 3 days a week, 1,500 calories. Like trying to manage that, I found was very difficult.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. That's generally, if you can get people and like you said too, if you manage that volume, then you have a good control. Cause like you said, a lot of people it's like an all in or all out, right? They'll train their asses off 1 or 2 days a week and they'll be so smoked they can't do anything for the other days of the week or whatever it becomes, right? Yeah, I think that lends itself to the consistency aspect of everything as well, right? Like when you can control the volume and you push people in that aspect as opposed to burning them into the ground with like intensity, like it's a lot more sustainable in that aspect too, right? Like maybe you have those 1 or 2 days intensity where you do push the limits a little bit, but then the rest of it probably does just have to be managed with a little bit lower intensity, but just have the right bit of volume in there for sure.
Yeah, I remember one of my clients, we went down to Ben House's place in Costa Rica where we met you. We talked about at the beginning of the show. So for listeners, it was usually a 2-week period. People come down, we'd stay there, we'd lift and learn a bunch of stuff. It was awesome. And one of my clients came down there and my whole thing was, I'm like, okay, we need to push your volume a little bit more. We want you to eat more food because she had been in such a hard deficit for so long. Her performance was really poor compared to what she could do. And so she's on board. She's getting it. She's in like month 4. And so she goes down there with all of us to the retreat there. And it was probably like day 4 or day 5. She comes up to me and she's like, all these women down here, they look so good.
and they lift like really heavy weights. And oh my God, they eat so much food. And I'm like, yes, this is what we've been telling you for 4 months. She's like, I think I get it now.
Absolutely. No, it is crazy. That's the thing too. My wife, like, she's in really good shape, and same thing, right? She can crush food, man. She's same thing, right? She trains hard. She lifts heavy. She lifts as heavy. And again, like, it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
She lifts as heavy as she can lift. She pushes herself every day, and she eats a lot of food, right? And then she'll always have people that come up to her, right? Oh, what do you do? And they expect her to say, yeah, I fast 14 hours a day
Right.
and whatever. But it's the exact opposite, right? Or when we do go away to the DawnCon retreats, she'll come with me, and there's a lot of women there, and they'll come up to her and ask her, or they'll be just like amazed at the plates of food that she's eating at the, it's like just the best food. It's like buffet style. All you
Oh,
can eat.
yeah.
It's like top notch. So she's loading up, but that's it, right? Like you create that ability for your body to utilize that food in such a different manner when you're pushing the limits and you're using your body to its capabilities. So yeah, it makes a massive difference, but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Where can people find out more about you?
Yes, thanks, Mike. I appreciate having me on. It was fun to come and chat with you. Yeah. Find out a little bit more about me. Instagram is the easiest place where I'm most active. So that's Adam_Ross_RD is my Instagram handle, or whatever you want to call it, Instagram name.
Yeah.
And then I am on Facebook, just Adam Ross RD, same thing. And then I have my website is another good place to just go check out what I've got. I've got some free resources and stuff on there for anybody who's more interested in kind of what I do. And that is arnutrition.net. So those are probably the three best places to find me.
Awesome. And are you taking any one-on-one clients or any programs or anything you're working on? I know you work with Don also on some of his stuff.
Yeah. So mostly what I'm doing right now is I do personalized, like, one-on-one and group style coaching. So I do have a coaching program where we work together one-on-one, and then there's also like a little bit of a group aspect to that. But that's what I'm doing, is I'm personalized coaching. So if anybody is interested, yeah, like I said, probably like just find me on Instagram and shoot me a message or whatever, and I can get you more information on it.
Cool. Awesome. I encourage everyone to check out all your great information. And thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, Mike.
Thank you very much to Adam for being on the podcast here today. Always great to chat with him once again. If you enjoyed this podcast, please forward it to someone you think might get some useful information from it. If you can leave us whatever stars you feel is appropriate, or even just take 30 seconds to write a couple sentences, that goes a long way to help us out with the algorithms so that more people can hear the podcast and have decent information delivered directly into their ear holes. If you want more information from me, go to MikeTNelson.com and you'll be able to opt into the newsletter. That is where most of my content goes right now. That is free to get on the newsletter, and you get a cool free gift also. So go to MikeTNelson.com for all of that information. Thanks again to Adam. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. We'll have much more once again next week. Talk to you then.
Well, that was different. Yep, lousy, but different.